Hey everybody. Yeah, we're live right now, Nayabusa. And we with what? Yeah, we're pretty much live. Let me pop out this chat. uh, so we have Not a Cat, Blood of the Wolf, Zero, Great Minds, Kyle, Yoda. Here comes Jessica Lacey and a bunch of other people. Thank you guys for joining us in this community podcast. We got a nice topic for you guys today. Something worth actually talking about, to be honest with you. So, we're going to be examining all the different gaming communities. Well, not every last one of them, but I have a few that I want to talk about. Most of them are like esports based, and then one or two here and there that are just like casual gaming communities and stuff like that for entertainment. We're going to examine these communities and talk about what builds an actual good community and what are some of the destructive elements that people do, which actually just pretty much destroys their community. So I am joined here with the CTO of Hashtiv.com. They're actually building a social media community, which now that we're talking about this, and we want to bring him to the show. He has a nice announcement to make to you guys regarding a contest on Hashtiv.com with the Battle of the Memes competition. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Naibusa. Let her rip.
All right. Hi, guys. First, let me thank everybody for being here, as usual. And I want to say I really appreciate you guys' supporting us and supporting Empire Arcadia. Thanks to everybody that signed up and everything. We got a poster giveaway contest, another one. This is not with the Battle of the Memes. That's a separate contest that's going on. We're doing a different contest where we're also going to be giving away a bunch of posters. Now, the rules are up. You guys are going to need to join Hashtiv and set up your profile and things like that and go and find the group that's called Free Poster Giveaway. I'm sorry, First Poster Giveaway. And what we're going to be doing is giving away 10 posters to random people who join and participate in this contest. In order for you guys to participate, and the rules are going to be available in the group. You got to find a group, and you'll be able to look through the rules in case that you forget anything or it doesn't make sense. But you're going to need to join Hashtiv. Make sure you confirm and update your profile, and then you can do posts of anything you like, whatever you like. But you need to hashtag it with poster giveaway and hashtag it with Hashtiv. After that, you can put whatever other hashtags you want in there. I also suggest you put I want you to put the hashtag of whatever poster you might like from your favorite game or anime. That'll help us pick the thing. Winners are going to be chosen at random. Once you complete that first step, that's going to be one entry poster. Here's the kicker. You're going to be able to get entry. So as long as you've completed that first step, every other post you do with those hashtags will also be considered an entry. You can also get additional entries by donating to Empire Arcadia. Every dollar you donate will be considered an entry. So if you donate $10 and you have your first step completed in Hashtiv, that's 11 entries you have for a chance to get one of these 10 posters. If you invite a friend and they post the poster giveaway and they also put your name in as a hashtag, that's an extra entry for you. They also get an entry. Now, on top of all of that, we're going to be giving away 2 premium posters. These posters are going to be at least about 6 feet. These are going to be some large posters, and we haven't decided on which ones yet because we're basically going to figure out what the winners like. you might not be a fan of Dragon Ball Z, so we don't want to send you a Dragon Ball Z poster. We're going to pick something that you like once we announce the winners next week, Friday, on the stream. The contest ends next Thursday. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's up now. The minute you guys start joining, you're in, you're entered for the contest. So good luck to everybody. And again, thanks for joining us, and look forward to you guys making this really awesome.
All right.
Back
Th-
with you.
Thank you, Nayabusa. I apologize. I made a mistake. I thought this was a part of the Battle of the Memes, so I kind of misspoke on that. But yeah, this is a separate contest from the Battle of the Memes. You guys don't forget to join us on hashshift.com. And if you look in the description, there's a link. There's a link that it says hashshift.com, has the EMP logo acronym in it. You click that link, that'll set you up pretty much. And you guys can subscribe to me as a friend. I will subscribe back to you guys as a friend, and then I can invite you guys to our Empire Arcadia group that we have on Hashshift. Speaking of which, so since we're on this, before I go into the entire these other communities, I want to start with your community, the Hashtiff community. I know you've described the Hashtiff before on a prior stream, but for those who are new here, could you give us a summary of what the hashtag social media community is, so that everyone gets an idea, and then I'll ask you my next question.
All right. Well, basically, it's our new social media site that we've built from the ground up. Everything is from the ground up. We've tried to take what we think and, what everybody else thinks is some of the best aspects of social media and combine it while getting rid of, some of the bad ones. When you sign up to Hashtiv, you're going to have the ability to control your feed by putting in the things that you want to see in your feed, what you're interested in. As far as things that you don't want to see, you'll be able to block that information very easily. And as social media users and gamers, this is something that we want to cater to the people that use it. We're here to listen to you guys. We want to know what you like, and we want to make this the best social media platform that there is for everybody. That's it. Over to you, Triforce.
Okay. Thanks for that. So, all right. Now, I know you're building the Hashtiff social media community, and this is a very good topic to talk about it. What are some of the things that you see that's good, that's needed to actually build a community? What are some of the things that you go through, the steps you take to build your social media community?
Well, I think the number one thing is definitely, listening to what people want. You got to be in touch with your community and understand what they want so that you can provide that. A lot of the other social media companies out there, one of the biggest complaints you get is things like customer service. It sucks. You can't communicate with people half the time. It takes forever and things like that. We are here for you. For instance, with the contest, when you guys join, you guys are going to automatically have a couple friends, which are the staff members. You got a problem, you send a message to Hashtag Feedback. You have a question, it's going to get answered by one of us directly within minutes. We're here to listen to the community and provide what they want. That's what I think is always the best way to go when you're trying to build something like this. Build anything, actually.
All right, and I like that, especially the fact a bunch of people are in the chat and in Discord messaging me about, can the posters that they could get, can they what's the word for this here? Can they be customizable? Like, can you make brand new posters from scratch? And that's a well, the contest that you're doing, it is good for the community, because that also helps build a community. So that's the point I was trying to make. But also at the same time, I'm asking you that question because people are asking me that literally in the room and in Discord.
Right. No. Customization, we can't. I mean, we can't. We wouldn't even have the time to create brand new posters or something like that. But I mean, there are a lot of images out there that are available that we can print out for you guys. It really depends on the image quality. You know, but
Oh no
as
no
far as like,
what they mean by customize is like okay, so I'll give you an example. I'll just read literally what the person said. What if they want an EMP poster? And but EMP already has like assets and stuff like that. The point is, could you get those like the EMP logo and stuff like that on a poster?
on there, yes,
Yeah.
definitely we can do that. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
we can do that. We can definitely work with you and create something that you like, provided it, it's not too resource heavy. But yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay. All right. So then, my next question to you, before we move on to the other communities, I hope the fan is not in the way. It's very hot over here and whatnot. Question: do you what are some of the destructive pitfalls that a lot of communities get involved in, sometimes intentionally, sometimes accidentally, that actually ends up destroying a particular community? What are some of those destructive pitfalls that Hashtag is trying to avoid?
Um, I think that would be for me. I think it's losing touch with the community when you get to that point where, I don't know, let's say you become too corporate,
Ah,
and not focusing on the I guess the best word I can use is the little guy. I don't want to say the little guy, but that's kind of the best way I could describe it. When you get too corporate and you lose focus of why you started it, why you created it, things like that, and you get carried away.
uh,
Uh, I can promise you that that's never going to happen to us. I'm me personally. I'm a gamer. My life will always revolve around that. If I'm a billionaire, my office is going to have my consoles in there when I'm at work in the daytime. I'm always going to be a gamer first. When it comes to something like this social media site, it's built by gamers, and I'm saying this because we're addressing the gaming community right now. It's a big deal to us. We're all of us are gamers. We pretty much all met through video game, one way or another.
another, yep.
Video game. So yeah, I think that answers the question. It's really when you lose focus, you get too big, and you start thinking more about the stock market instead of what started it.
This is true. Okay, so I asked that question personally because it's some of the things that I wanted to see what were some of those pitfalls you were trying to avoid, to see if they match along the lines of what we do here at Empire Acadia and the community that we have. It's very important. I always think it's very important to have communication with the people, because it's the people that built what you have. Without the people, you are building it for the people, but it takes the people to get it built. So once you start losing connection with them, it's like you pretty much you pretty much losing that actually starts the destruction of the community. At the same time, unfortunately, in the world that we live in now, they have all these like strategies and constructs that they all use, that really it doesn't even matter. Like the entire community can just be a machine, and everyone's satisfied with that as long as you give everyone their own echo chamber. And that's what a lot of social media platforms are. It's just echo chambers, a place where a
Right.
person can just speak, and as long as they get to type what they want to type. But the reality is, are you really interacting with anyone? Are you really being heard? And you're not. You're just echo chambering. And then it gets, so what they do is they prop up a few people, like big names. People have massive influences, and then those massive influences, the goal that who you chase for. So you have a lot of these people who are really just the average person in echo chambers, really trying to reach out and grab those big names and stuff like that. And it's really sad, Nayabusa. I've seen it, man. There are guys who they'll go on channels on Twitch, on YouTube, on people's Facebook profiles, on Twitter and stuff like that, trying to get the attention of their favorite personality, of their favorite influencers, and so on and so forth. And their influencers are not going to pay them any mind. There's a there are reasons such as, oh, I'm too busy. I got this X, Y, and Z to do. and they don't have the time. And then there's the no, we just don't care. Who are you? You're wasting my time. And it's sad to I watch it. It's sad to see these people try to like they do their best to reach out to these people, and it comes off like the more they're ignored, the harder they try to get these guys attention, and these guys are not interested in giving them attention at all. And I don't understand for the life of me how the fan base grows that way versus the moderately semi coming into age guy on YouTube who is like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a platform, and I'm going to get involved with everybody. And when I get involved with everybody, I'm going to talk and take the time to be around my community and so forth, and spend my time doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like the more they get involved in the community, the less people follow them. What is that? Can you explain that to me, please? I can't grasp that.
Well, I think it has something to do with a little bit to do with the concept of that kind of wanting what you can't have thing. It's kind of like this person's out there, you can't really reach them. That kind of makes them more interesting. But when they come down to your level and you can actually get to them and stuff, I think that's what changes that aspect. They become a little more normal, and so they might, fans. Let's say fans, might kind of lose interest. But I think that's really
So wait,
that's really
let me get this straight. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So by coming down to the so-called commoner, you're diminishing your prestige, and because you're diminishing your prestige by respecting the commoner on the same level as you, they walk away. But when you treat them like crap and like you're some begone, you peasant, and you throw a tomato at them or a rock and it hits them, then they love you for it. Is this Stockholm syndrome? What type of abusive relationship is this? Because this is what it
what
seems like.
I think that's a little bit of you know, we live in a time when it's controversy. These are the things that the things that we find interesting. Um, that shock factor, like that it's not the nice guy. No one wants to hear about the nice guy. It's that person that's doing the crazy stuff is what everybody's interested in. So, I mean, I just feel like that's kind of the environment that we've set up. And it's because people are kind of used to that. We've only now hit a point where it's very easy to communicate with our idols, be it celebrities, gamers, whatever, movie stars. We have a slightly better opportunity to reach out to them. You find someone on Twitter like The Rock or something, and you send a tweet, there's a chance he'll answer you. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was probably no chance that was happening. Now that I don't know if my date's right. When did Twitter start? Is it about 10 years old? Probably more than 10 years old now. But you know what I mean, right? We're now in an age where the world is becoming more connected. So I think to my statement before, it's more like that's what we're kind of used to. That's how things were. But I think in time that's going to change. Now that we're more connected, everyone can reach out to everyone. Everyone can talk to everyone. I do think that there is more of an effect now. There is an area where that's happening, where the more people get to see, that this celebrity or this person is down to earth, that's making them more popular and showing as a good thing. We're getting used to that now, and we're liking that more. Does that make sense?
Unfortunately. Unfortunately. All right then. All right. Thank you, Nayabusa. I'm going to turn over this segment to the Discord community and the YouTube community. I can catch you in the room there. We're going to kind of open up this segment into some of these other communities communities I want to touch on, get everyone's opinion on those in different communities, the constructive aspects of them, the destructive aspects of them. Then I want to kind of do like a vote, like a yay or nay about some of these communities. Are they more constructive or more destructive? So I look forward to see you in that. Okay.
All right.
All right. See you in a bit. Thank you. All right, guys. So that was the CTO of Nyabusa. It's always a pleasure having him on our stream. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go over into our Discord. Let me go over there. These guys are probably all in there randomly making noises and blah, 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 skirt, whatever. But we're definitely going to talk about a couple of communities. One of them is the Nintendo community. Definitely want to talk about the Nintendo community. Then I'm going to talk about the fighting game community, the MOBA community, the first-person shooters community, the Smash community. That's like a whole separate thing, even though that's in the fighting games. We're going to talk about the classic community. So we're gonna get into all those topics. Let's go inside the room. Let's see what everybody's talking about. Here we are. So,
wait, for real? Hashtag already has that?
Yeah. I'm gonna. Anyone who's watching the stream, make sure that you guys are kind of mute your streams because we are. Yeah. Like,
Hashtag already has that?
Yeah. You'd have to mute your streams, guys.
Nanja, whatever.
Can I do that from the app?
His thingy is still on.
No, you have to do it on PC.
Yeah, so let's get on this. All right, before we even move forward with this, the first thing I want to say is this. If you guys are not going to be in here to talk about this topic, can you take conversations to another room so that we can keep this particular channel set for just the topic of talking about, examining these different communities. If not, then you guys are welcome to stay in here and so forth. If not, if you make one interruption, I'm going to kick you from the room. So you won't even see it coming. It'll just be an instant kick.
Wait, try first. Can I ask a question?
What's up?
What specifically? Because I wasn't here earlier, like to exactly here.
For what? We're streaming
or
right
watching
now.
the stream. Yeah, no, I wasn't really watching the stream because I was doing other things. So I kind of.
We're talking about examining different gaming communities, the constructive and destructive aspects of them. What constructive elements that they use to build up the community, and what are some of the destructive elements that they use to destroy them. And we're gonna go. I have like 5 or 6 communities I want to go over with you guys. Get your opinions on them. The pros and the cons, so to speak, and then we kind of make a vote on each community, whether or not we think each of these communities are constructive or destructive. Constructive, yeah, or destructive. And we just got a subscription. Keisha sang. Oh, Keisha, thank you. Oh, that's my mom. What the hell? Random. She just subscribed. Wait,
wow.
You and your mother on the phone? Oh, Keisha's watching it in the room then. Oh, it's you. Oh, okay. That's my brother-in-law Khalil. What's going on, Bruce Greg? Okay, guys, let's get into this. All right, so first community I want to talk about, we're going to get this right off the bat, the Nintendo community. Let's just talk about the Nintendo community straight up. So what are some of the constructive elements that makes the Nintendo community so powerful? Anyone want to jump in here with this? This is our whole part of this segment. Please jump in.
Say again.
Well,
I
can say this.
I
can speak to this.
Okay, go on.
One of the things with Nintendo is, since back in the day, they put a lot of work into their games, to the point where like people like Miyamoto and stuff like that. They perfected those games. Usually when Nintendo releases a game, it's a 10. Most of the time, when they release a game, I think keeping that high standard of quality and is what keeps the community there and they keep giving the community what they want. Every time a new console comes out, they release a Mario. That's usually a 10 out of 10, or any Nintendo exclusive are usually top shelf games, and that's the thing that keeps that community strong, keeps the users coming back to get what they want, get that quality game,
Yeah, but I think what made the Nintendo community so strong, because it's the strongest community in gaming, some people think I'm just being subjective about that, but I'm being very objective about it. I think Nintendo's strength comes from back in the days of Nintendo Power, the Nintendo Club, Club Mario, and all these. I think Nintendo's direct connection to the people in terms of the events that they do, from street teams and all these different events to competitions, launches, and all those things. I think that's what makes Nintendo such a strong community, because they actually get down on the ground floor and they interact with the actual community. They even get the suits to come down into the streets and party and play games with people. There was an event in I don't want to go too far back, where people are like, huh, okay, Trevor's, you're old as mummy dust. So I'll just keep it relatively within the new time. But like in 2013, they had an event called what was it? Hanging with Reggie. It was at the Nintendo World. Well, it's called Nintendo New York store now, but back then it was called the Nintendo World Store. And Reggie literally just stopped into New York just to spend a day. Well, not a day, but a few hours, like 4 or 5 hours, just to play video games with 10 select people from the Nintendo community that was in New York. Literally, that was it. I'm like, who does that? Who really does that? But that's why that's my personal opinion on why I think Nintendo's community is so strong, their integration. But let me throw this to you, Poldrin. What's your thoughts on that? Jump in, please.
So this is about what makes a community strong, right?
Yes. Yeah. Particularly, we're talking about Nintendo, because we're gonna go through a couple of communities, but this particular topic is on Nintendo.
I think personally, it's the well balance of inclusion. Like if a community has just the right amount of inclusion, because everybody, ideally we want everybody to get the experience, but if you can just get enough people in consistently, I think that it really encourages people to stick around and interact and make friends and all that type of stuff.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else want to chime in on Nintendo? Q, I know you wanted to say something. I don't know if you said your connection is not all that great. Or can Q speak? And no, he cannot. So yeah, we lost Q there. There was another. Yoda wanted to say something, but he's not in the room. I don't know why. Q is typing right now. What is he saying in his message? But anybody else want to chime in? Because I don't think Q can message. He can't speak. He says his connection is pretty bad. He'll have to submit it in text or an audio clip later. Okay. Or you can write out your statement, Q, and I'll speak it out for you before we move on to the next topic. But anybody else want to chime in on Nintendo?
I would like. Yeah, take the floor, man.
Okay, go.
So basically, what I feel is the same thing as Paulgen, like the inclusion, but it's also the fact that you can be a part of the Nintendo community. Like inside the community, nobody will hate you for liking Nintendo, and you can just have fun playing the same games with everyone and just feel at home.
I agree. Who was this? Was this Saeem's? You wanted to say something?
Your boy Oblivion.
No, that was Oblivion. No, I know you said something, but somebody else wanted to say something.
And then Sam. My boy Sam.
Okay, Sam.
Hey.
Got the floor.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. So personally for me, I believe like the Nintendo community is comprised with, we have, as you were mentioning, Triforce, we have executives and administration. We have folks on the higher end, on the business side of things, that are willing to communicate. And we also have these games that are being pumped out by Nintendo with these beautiful themes and unique art styles and visualizations. I feel like that's, at least to me as a player, that's what resonates with the community. How we get to talk about how we interpret certain design choices. And a lot of Nintendo games, for example, Splatoon, we may all have like our own different opinions, but it's the fact that within this community, we get to speak so openly about them and be able to challenge each other. I think that's a strong point the Nintendo community has.
I 100% agree. But listen to this, guys. I want to point something. Good stuff, Saeem. I want to point out something. Great Mind says, listen to this. Great Mind says Nintendo also has legacy behind it. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's also contributes to their community being so great?
I think that's very important, actually.
Gives you credit. It gives you ethos.
Okay, so now we want to be fair. We're going to get the dynamics on both sides. What do you guys think that Nintendo does that's destructive to the Nintendo community?
I'll go first. I don't think, as far as community, like directly involving the people, but I think a lot of their franchises don't get enough love, and that alienates some people. I think I'll use myself as an example. See, I love Star Fox, but Star Fox really doesn't get the attention that I would like it to, and I find myself having less to talk about with other Nintendo fans.
That's
sorry,
interesting.
I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, in a situation like that, you know, you got to think about, why do you love Star Fox? When Star Fox first came out, it was kind of groundbreaking. That was revolutionary. You know, unless they could come up with some new revolutionary technology for the new Star Fox, like a lot of those Star Foxes that they made after the first one, they were okay, but they didn't really have that kind of impact. So, you know, from a financial point, it's like kind of hard to make another game that would have an impact and make it worth it, you know?
Yes, I do understand. I do understand that.
Is Star Fox the only game that makes you gravitate towards Nintendo?
Oh no, of course not. But I have a passion for that game, and I just kind of, you know, feel like there's no room to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it. What's your best Star Fox game?
Definitely Assault.
You take Assault over 64?
It's just because I played 64 to death. I actually played the game 64 times.
Table flip. You know, stop. No, but 64 is. I think 64 was beyond groundbreaking. I'm like, we understand Star Fox. One was godlike. A lot of people are going to be able to play Star Fox 2 now that the new Super Nintendo Mini is out. Okay, but I have Star Fox 2 on the Famicom. The Super Famicom. I have a Super Famicom with Star Fox 2, and I played it before, so it's nothing groundbreaking for me. It's like, okay, that was cool and everything and whatnot, and I get to replay it again. But Star Fox 64, man, Star Fox 64 was ridiculous. Like, I don't know how they're gonna ever top it. And Assault and Assault's great, Zero's great. Adventures was like, whoa, what the? But you know, we all make mistakes here and there. But it's hard. It's hard. It's going to be very hard to. How do you beat Star Fox 64? Like, what do you really do? They've literally done everything. They stole every conceivable aspect from spaceship shooters that like resemble the movies, Battleship Galactica, Star Trek, Star Wars. They used it all. So what else can they possibly do? But anyway, we're digressing into other topics. So we got Yoda who's speaking on Nintendo, and I think Cumulative is also typing, and I want to read those guys' posts, but we'll have to come back to that because I want to switch off and get to another community. I want to try to get the two casual like communities out of the way. Actually, you know something? We'll just go straight to the um the actual like pro gaming communities because that's where they really are. Unless you guys want to, you know something? Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Sony, the Sony gaming community. What are the pros and the cons, guys? What are the things that Sony does that makes their community progressive in terms of the constructive stuff? And what are some of the things you guys think that they do that's destructive to Sony? Please jump in on this one.
Oh boy, let me go last.
Oh man, you see when we talk, this is so bad because this is like this is going to turn into a sister war stuff. Do we have a defender of Sony in the room? Do we have a defender of Sony in the room?
I think
Could not be me.
I think the issue with Sony and why it might be a little hard is because, you know, we can talk about Sony's gaming franchise, like that's the gaming section of Sony. But Nintendo is just all gaming. Sony is
Oh
bigger
no,
corporation.
when I
with a
say
lot more
Sony,
in gaming than a small part.
when I say Sony,
So-
I mean PlayStation.
Well, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
When it comes to their gaming, that's just a part of their business. So I think the biggest issue there is them not investing as much into their gaming as, say, Nintendo would.
That's because they're a consumer electronic giant. They're not a video game company.
Right.
So
Right.
the video game is something that they do on the side. Here's a quote from Miss K from our YouTube pay audience. She says Sony needs to support their hardware, support the hardware they put out. Vita. So I can attest to that. Sony doesn't really support all of their hardwares. It's more like their handheld section was just made because they wanted to try to see if they can take a significant percentage of the handheld market away from Nintendo. But they really had no interest in actually really supporting that market like how Nintendo supports their handheld market. But then again, we've already stated that's because they're not a video game company. They're a consumer electronic company, and they're really just trying to put their hands in all the pots that they possibly can. What a lot of people don't even know is that in their actual environment where they come from, which is a consumer electronics, they're not even number one. They've never been number one in the consumer electronic scene, which that's kind of, well, it's not sad. They're not like last either. They're top three. I think they're number two. They could be, but they're up there. But video games isn't their main platform, and that is why we don't see so much support from them in that direction. But just the making of the games isn't good enough. I'm talking about getting involved with the community directly. Like, what grade would you guys give Sony for getting involved with the community and with the players and stuff like that? And no, I'm not talking about some type of online service, because that's not, like, that's online service. That's not, the community.
See, I was going to mention the Sony hack, but like you said, that's an online service. I do believe that affects the community, but honestly, I think Sony deserves, in my opinion, of course, a 6 out of 10 when it comes to their community. I haven't seen much like interactive stuff with Sony. Also, I need to use the bathroom. I'll be back.
Yeah. I want to go. Yes, say your statement, please, and then I can get to these other guys. Go on.
I was just gonna say when I think, okay, I don't really know much about the current Sony scene. I think that's probably because back in the day, or just a while ago when the PSP was still ringing around, I remember people saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the new PSP Vita," or "I can't wait to have like console graphics on my handheld." I feel like Sony eventually blew up and deflated based on the rumors that were spreading around itself. It lived up to this hype, and then when Sony couldn't deliver, that's where we see this deterioration going on. The community itself, though, I disagree with Cauldron. I think Sony fails when it comes to communicating with their fans. Sure, we're getting legacy stuff, such as Crash Bandicoot, but this is way overdue. This is just my opinion, though. Feel free to correct me.
No, you have a point. So I can't sit here and say that, because this is all based on our experience. So I couldn't sit here and say, correct you. I can't correct your experience that you have with Sony, because like Microsoft, like Sony, both of those companies, when I look at their community building, they do, and I use Nintendo as a standard, they don't even match half of what Nintendo does in terms of community building. Yes, they may have more powerful systems, more powerful GPU processing, more games because of third-party companies, all that other stuff. That's great. But from a community standpoint, nah, not even having it. So that's just based off our opinions. But I want to go back to the Nintendo point real quick. Cumulative and Yoda both spoke on it. So Cumulative says, and this is, it's Cumulative is from our Discord community. He says, growing up, my gaming community was pretty tight-knit. even when the testosterone was high in the arcades, you could be fighting against someone quarters at risk, and they will tell you how to beat them, what their weaknesses are. The arcade gamers were able to no well also the Nintendo and Sega gamers. So the Nintendo community and the Sega community and the arcade community were all one and the same. And I actually like that, to be honest with you. That he has a good point about that. Part of what keeps the Nintendo community so strong is that there are those three communities blended into one. Another thing that keeps the Nintendo community so solid is that they're willing to be vulnerable to each other, show each other our weaknesses. We can cry to each other, borrow from each other, and pay each other back with interest. So I see what he's saying, and it's kind of true, because it's like, think about like how the Sega and Nintendo fans used to be at war with each other back in the days, right? And as the gaming scene opened up, despite Sonic and Mario being at ends and Sega and Nintendo being at ends, anything that threatened Sega, a Nintendo fan would jump in. I'm like, yo, you can't rock like that. And anything that threatened Nintendo, the Sega fans would jump in. I'm like, nah, you can't rock like that. But the two are rivals, so to speak. This always goes back to Goku and Vegeta. But we're going to stay away from Dragon Ball. We're going to stay away from Dragon Ball. It's just that everything references to them. But all right, so let me go to the next point here. Thank you, Cumulative, for your input on that. The next one is Yoda. Yoda says, Triforce, since I'm having mic troubles, okay, I'm just going to type this. In short, the Nintendo community is a prime example of how easy something can be destroyed but hard to recreate. There are some in the nice people in the Nintendo community, but there are some real, and we can't say that right now, in the community. Now, I don't want to say any names, but I've seen things like catfishing, hacking, flame wars, and other drama. I'm trying to take out the curses. I got to read it and then remove the curses in my mind and then say the other words. All right, so I don't like talking about this type of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that destroys it. Now, something that contributes to the community is what fans can generate. I'm making a game with about 14 other people, and it's a huge blast. And that's what Nintendo does best: bring creative minds together. He said creative-minded people, but I get his point. I grew up with games like Earthbound and Fire Emblem, and those games are what make me want to go into game design, and the community makes me want to show my support for them. It's not just Nintendo itself that pushes the community, but it's also people like myself, Shofu, people like myself, like Shofu, like C&D. Nintendo is nothing without its fans, and that's what's beautiful about it. I actually have to agree with them. And the thing is, Nintendo isn't the type of company that doesn't embrace their fans. And Nintendo's not the type of company that goes, we don't care about our fans. We don't really pay them any mind. They actually do. What people confuse Nintendo with when they go, Nintendo's out of touch, they don't pay attention to their fans. What people are talking about when they say that is that they're trying to say Nintendo doesn't listen to their fans and make the games that their fans want. What people don't understand, that it takes time to make games, and you can't just sit out. You can't just be on some, wait 1 second. You can't be on some stuff where it's like, oh, Nintendo, because they're not making the games we want, that we claim we're entitled to have right now. Nintendo's not listening to the community. Nintendo has a whole bunch of other games that they have to make sure that they put out first, that meets the company's requirements, before they eventually get to the games that people are actually interested in being a part of altogether. There's this loud car outside that's making a lot of noise. Sorry about if you guys heard any of that noise in the background.
I'm back, by the way.
Oh, okay. Welcome back, Poltron. Okay, so I wanna so we're gonna move to the next okay, that was a bad idea for me to do that. So let me just keep him on mute. All right, so we're gonna move to the next one because we already talked about the casual communities. So let's go to the meat and potatoes, the drama. Let's go to the esports communities. We're just gonna start with the should we, the good, the bad, or the ugly? Which one do we start off with first, guys?
The good. The good.
We start off with the good. Okay, so let's talk about League of Legends, right? The League of Legends community. What are some of the what are the things that Riot has done to make the League of Legends community so strong and productive? Please chime in, people.
Well,
Okay, we heard a and then it was just nothing. Was that you, Kat?
oh yeah, I was gonna say, but Sahil cut in first, so I figured to let him talk first.
Oh wait, Sahil can't be heard because I had to mute him because he has his air conditioner in the background. I'm gonna unmute him right.
Oh, right.
I'm gonna unmute you right now, Sahil, so you can start all over again. All right, there you go.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, since we're talking about League of Legends, just before we get into like how the community sees the game, it is important to note that the way the community sees Riot Games and League is very different depending on the region you're in. For example, the Korean community is much more critical and apprehensive about every little thing. The Korean community complains about a lot of like little things that Riot does very often, and they're also very toxic towards their pro players. Just one example of this is one of SKT's members, their ADC Bang, during stream was getting really annoyed because a lot of people on the stream were sending troll donations, right? So he just said, he didn't even like swear at them or anything. He just like basically addressed his like troll donation and said why it doesn't make sense. Like he literally just stated why it was like it just didn't make any sense. And the entire Korean community like flooded all of the forums around there, just saying Bang should be punished for this, right? And he did. The Riot Games of Korea ended up giving him like a $5,000 fine for it, even though he didn't do anything. Meanwhile, you would never see that kind of behavior like during North American streams because they don't really care. Right? Trash talking is much more looked down upon in Korea.
Well, okay, so that's actually a destructive aspect of it. Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know much about. Nah, look, I don't know much about League of Legends, but to be honest, from what I've seen and all the way that they promote League of Legends, it seems like they're all focusing on like a community-based thing. Like they want you to communicate with your teammates and everything. And I feel like that's what they're pushing the most. Like that's like the best part of League is like communicating with your team. And I don't know. That's what I see. Like League of Legends promoting, at least it seems like a really good community to be like part of, for like the most part.
Yeah, with communication, actually, the thing is, there's basically like a very large consensus among like the League community, at least in North America, that they would prefer to have integrated voice chat into the game that you could just choose to mute or keep on, right? But Riot Games just continues to refuse to implement it, and when they're asked about it, they just don't comment on it. They just completely ignore the issue. So that's one thing in terms of communication where Riot isn't like addressing the fans' needs. Meanwhile, everybody else wants it.
Now, when I say MOBA, keep in mind I'm not just talking about League of Legends. Thank you. I'm also talking about Dota and Heroes of the Storm. So don't just hold this just to League of Legends. Don't hold the standards just to League of Legends. I'm talking about MOBA as a whole. I'm sorry, I cut off someone who was going to jump. Is that you, Poldrin?
That was me.
Oh, that's you. Okay, so now Naibusa, go.
Yeah. I was just going to comment on two things now. One, as far as the voice chat goes with League, it is kind of bizarre that they don't comment about it. But I think I kind of get it from their perspective. Yeah, there are pros and cons to that. And I think it's one of those things where they would just rather avoid dealing with the issue. Keep in mind, voice chat is more bandwidth. You don't want to be lagging in a game, then you're complaining about how the game's laggy and things like that. That could be one side. Of course, there's toxic gamers and things like that. I know when it's been a little while since I played League, and I probably play League different from everybody else. I literally only play ARAM. I don't play ranked. I don't play any of the other maps. I just play ARAM. But whenever I did try to play ranked, it didn't matter what I did, I got yelled at, in chat for just doing everything wrong. Like literally, where do you guys want me? Go top. I go top. What are you doing up here? You don't need to be up here. Like just no matter what you do. So imagine if it was in voice, what would be going on? Like that'd be crazy. Then the other thing on the positive side of what I think League does, Riot, I think what one of the things that makes it so good is that they use the formula of make one product really well. They put a lot of time and energy into just continuing to make that better. And I think we're moving more in that direction as a whole for the gaming community. Instead of just trying to crank out new games and new titles and new things, but they're subpar. I think that's kind of the thing that Nintendo's done for a long time. But you got like Sony, they get one game that does okay, and they want to crank out all the sequel bumps and all that stuff and water it down. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes. Okay, so if we're talking about if we're talking about MOBAs as a whole, I'm gonna bring up some positive things that I feel Heroes of the Storm does well, and a lot of people are not looking at. For example, a league match or a Dota match can last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, just on average.
Okay.
In Heroes of the Storm, it's anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a 30-minute game if both sides are equally skilled. But here's the thing. The game is so fast-paced and so oriented in teamwork that there really isn't time for trash talk. The community, look, all these communities are toxic in my opinion. I played Blizzard products for years and years and years and years and years, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that there's a lot of ugliness to talk about. But as far as Heroes of the Storm is concerned in the MOBA scene, it fosters more of a teamwork environment, whether people like each other or not. I've gotten into arguments, like real back and forth, like nasty language arguments in Heroes of the Storm. But we pulled together and one at the end of the day shook hands and just moved on with our lives, more times than not. So I think that I think Heroes of the Storm, just in its gameplay alone, fosters the idea of camaraderie regardless of your differences.
Well, but you're speaking on that. But see, because there's, like you said, there's negative in everything. But like in the MOBA community, there's one positive we are not talking about, and there's a number to that positive: $22 million. Dun, dun, dun. Like, what other community has ever done that for competitive play?
Yes, they're very supportive. The MOBA community is very supportive of their players.
Now, how can I say this? I don't want to I don't want to try to direct this, but I want to kind of keep it realistic. For every positive, there has to be a negative. And although we talked about the negative of the potential, the voice chat, and I know why there shouldn't be a voice chat, because that's the next community we're going to. We're going to voice
floodgates.
Yeah, we're going to open the floodgates to Voice Chat Central, the greatest voice chatting community in competitive gaming, the most toxic in voice chatting, the first-person shooter community. Holy smokes. Oh my God. This community is worse than the white supremacists, the neo-Nazis, and the things you hear from these guys when they're playing video games. You're like, what the? Like, are you serious? So I can see why they don't want to put that in League of Legends. Makes sense. I wouldn't. League of Legends is fine right where it is. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Check it out. In League of Legends, one second. In League of Legends, you can talk to the enemy team. In Heroes of the Storm, you can't even talk to the enemy team. You can't even text to them.
Wow. Didn't know that.
It keeps things way more civilized. That
would make sense.
Wow.
I actually didn't know that. I really didn't know that. This orange juice is so good. Khalil, may I have some more, please, when you get a chance? I'm thirsty. I'm burning up here. This fan is not doing the job for me. In fact, the fan's doing a good job keeping the computer clean. Cool. But yeah, let me read some of the comments that the guys have here. So he says, okay, well, Yoda is saying that, what? Huh? Dark Souls. Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving on. I'm sorry about that. Someone made a comment about Dark Souls. Yoda goes on to says MOBAs are naturally toxic. It doesn't matter what kind of MOBA it is, they are naturally toxic. Why? Because if a game, no, it's a game that relies on communication. If people don't do what you tell, they tell you, they will not like you and they will yell at you. The difference between Dota and League is that if you want to trash talk in League, you need to stop playing, start typing, and then get killed. Get killed by not paying attention. In Dota, it takes one button to trash talk someone. But I get that it takes one button to trash. Oh, sorry. It takes one button to track. Thank you. It takes one button to trash talk a person in Dota, but at the very same time, the community can't be that toxic if they're raising $22 million for a competition, and a lot of that money goes to charity. So yeah.
Can I add to that?
Sure. Jump in. Wait, one of you guys can jump. Either one of you. Is that Sahil trying to jump in?
Let him talk. Let him talk. He's good.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
Okay. So with Dota's fundraising for TI and such, the way it works is that there's something called a compendium, which you can buy that actually gives you in-game skins and such, and then a portion of the compendium profits go to the TI. It's not like people just hop on the Dota 2 client and just donate money to the
That's true, but the point is that the community pays to keep the game running because they're paying for these products in the game, and then the people who made the game that remember the Dota is a mod. So, although yes, Valve runs it, but it started off as a mod. The point is that they contribute back into the competitive community for the people that's donated. What's so funny? If League did the very same thing, I think they'd raise more money than Dota, which makes you wonder. But anyway.
And one more thing I wanted to say. When Pauldron brought up that point about how generally the MOBA community treats their pro scene very well, there has been a debate about and this goes for all MOBAs and the competitive scene since the very beginning, right? And it's about, should the game be balanced for the majority of players, like the 99%, or should the game be balanced to make competitive more have higher integrity to it, right? Have balanced the game so that competitive can be the best it can be. And that's a debate that's been going on for a long time. So in some aspects, there's a lot of players who will sometimes hate the pro scene because a change is done that can negatively affect the quote unquote bad players, but it makes competitive a more watchable experience and a more fair experience.
Okay, so I'll address that, but let me say what I was going to say before about the prize, about the oh my goodness, I might have to skip it because I think I forgot now. Trevor, what did you say that got me to respond to you?
I was talking.
Oh yeah, you were talking about the money that's put in.
Yes.
How can the game be so toxic if there's so much money put into it? And okay. I was gonna say it's really because the competitive spirit kind of outweighs the toxicity. At the end of the day, everybody does the same thing. You got fair weather fans, you got loyal fans, and they all just want to see this stuff play out, just like the playoffs of the NFL. They all just want to see this stuff at the end of the day, and that's viewership, and that's what incentivizes the huge prize pools and all this prestige and these huge arenas and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay, that's true. I just don't.
Because it's the same thing in real sports.
Yes, but I just don't want to take away from the fact that the community is purchasing, they're buying into their own product, the product that's being served to them, and then a portion of that money is being given back for the sole purpose of entertainment, because that's what that is. I think that's a very healthy community. I think if other communities follow suit, we'd have a more we'd be in a better position in some other communities, which we're going to touch into, because I kind of want to move this on to the first-person shooter community.
So let me finish what I was going to say.
Right,
addressing Sahil's point. Check this out. I'm sure Guild Wars 2 is not the only game that does this, but they are a game that balances their player versus environment content, which is for the casuals, from their player versus player content, which is for people who are looking to either get up in the ranks or just do some challenge matches against other players. Sometimes you just want to kill somebody. They balance everything around PvP, and as somebody who's played, I've played this game since 2012, and let me tell you that it's not necessarily a good thing to balance your content around professionals that might want to make careers in there. Look at the retro gaming scene. Never have I ever heard of anyone, back when competitive gaming was getting big in the retro scene. Never have I heard of anyone tailoring a game's content for professionals. Never. The professionals had to deal with the casuals and take the game to another level themselves. They evolve the content and they evolve what people are able to do, and they find out the strategies and all that good stuff. I don't think that should be up to the developers, honestly. I think the developers should focus on making a fun and enjoyable experience for everybody, because at the end of the day, that pays for a lot of this stuff.
That's true. That's true.
About that, I just want to say one last thing, because I know we've been on League for quite a bit now, right? But I just want to add to that, right? I understand, I get what Pauldron's saying, right? Where it's the pro player's responsibility to take the game's environment and turn it into what they need to, succeed and such, right? But this might be a little bit hard to explain to somebody who doesn't really play the game very much. But there was a strategy in League of Legends Pro for the pro scene for about a year and a half, right? From season 5 to halfway through season 6, and it was called the lane swapping, where how there's a top lane, a bot lane, and a mid lane, right? There would be a strategy where you would actually switch the top and bottom lanes, right? And then that way you can have a 2v1 top versus a 1v2 bottom, and each team could rush an early turret. So it would accelerate the game's pace, because when you kill a turret, everybody gets a little bit of gold. Now, it's a lot more complicated than that, but essentially it was something that made competitive a much more enjoyable experience to watch, because it was very unique compared to what you would just see in solo queue, right? But a lot of people, especially the casual watchers who don't really follow competitive very much, if they just want to watch a pro player game just randomly because they feel like it, and they tune in, and then they see pro players executing all these strategies that they're not familiar with, so they just don't understand what's going on, they tune off, right? So Riot Games actually just changed around some of the ways the game works to remove lane swapping from the game. They artificially changed the game to forcibly change how the game played for the pro player scene to cater to casual viewers of the scene, and that was a decision that I never agreed with and got me really aggravated.
That's a bit, because that's a business decision.
No, I understand it's a business decision, right? But
no, I agree with you. I don't think you should ever make a business decision like that. Yes, we understand, but I think you're insulting the intelligence of the fans.
There were a lot who just genuinely didn't understand, because it was a very complicated thing. That's the reason it was removed, because it just made pro League of Legends a little bit less accessible to watch.
Oh.
For the average viewer, anyway.
I want to give a shout out to King Joker, who just made a donation live in the middle of the stream. Thank you, King Joker. All of your proceeds and your donations and your subscriptions all help goes towards our agendas and initiatives in the gaming scene, both professional and casually. So thank you very much. But yes, Sahil, we like I said, I didn't want to cut you out. I think it's an insult to the. Let me start it off this way. It would show far more integrity for the competition and respect for the consumers who are watching it if simply Riot created some type of program which kind of educated the consumers who are watching as to what's going on. Let them learn about the game and its advancements, rather than saying, okay, look, what you guys are doing is too advanced for the people, so we're going to change the game to suit their simple understanding of the game. And that's just, yeah. So yeah. I don't agree with what they're doing, what they did with that, or whatever the case may be. I think they should just have taught the people, or taught their viewers. There's definitely have to be some type of program that can they can simplify it in a term where people can understand.
Yeah, like for example, they could have even had like whenever they have a Twitch stream for a competitive game, they could have two streams. They could have a stream that assumes you already understand all the advanced strategies that are only viable in the competitive scene and would never work in solo queue. And they have casters who cater to that audience. And then they have a second stream that caters also to people who aren't as familiar to it. And so that way the casters can explain what's going on in a little bit more of a like noob friendly, I guess.
But see,
Way.
you see that thing right there? You see that thing you just brought up right there? One of that job to bridge the information and communication gap between the spectators and the actual competition, that's the job of the casters. But I'm about to say something that's going to catch a lot of heat, but I'm going to say it anyway. I hate pretentious, pompous casters who simply want to talk the jargon that makes them sound intelligent. And although they are completely in the know of the game, they lack the intelligence to break it down in layman terms for everyone else to understand. And I think there's something real pompous about them to sit there and assume that everyone watching the game knows the game at these pro jargon levels where they can just explain the game at this level where it's like this is where the pros are playing, and if you just don't understand it, oh well, that's your problem. Because it's really that's the purpose of even being a caster. Your job is to be able to convey in layman terms what's happening on the screen to your spectating audience. Because not everyone's going to understand what's going on, which is why some of the most popular casters out there are guys that don't really use professional terms. They use terms like scoop, Hagen Dazs, and words like that, colorful words to kind of not only just entertain but get people to kind of get a grasp of what's actually happening in the actual game. So in sports, regular sports, you have the colorful commentator and then you have the tech, and the tech and the colorful commentary work with each other to get that to convey what's happening to the masses, and they sync themselves. But in League of Legends, that's not how it comes off. It comes off like I'm listening to a bunch of sports analysis who are giving their take on golf, and it's like, really? So they're sitting there talking about the backspin and the velocities with the wind coming at the whatever miles per hour, and you're like, okay, so like, can you like just say how hard they're hitting the ball? But do you get what I'm saying on that?
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying, and that is true to a degree. But it does get a little bit easier to consume when you play the game and understand a lot more of the terms that they're using and stuff, with the terminology of it.
Yeah.
It's really just once you understand the terminology, it becomes a lot more easier to digest.
This is true. All right. So I don't want to stay too much on League of Legends. I think we've done it. We've said enough on League of Legends. So let's move forward.
Oh yeah.
Let's move forward, and because we still got to get to some other stuff. Jagan is in the room right now, and I want to make sure because when I get to the fighting game community, oh man, he's got so much to say. But let's go to the first person. Before we get out of this, the MOBA community. So is the MOBA community more constructive and progressive or destructive?
We have to do that for Sony and Nintendo too.
No, those are casuals. Like that's the casuals. So it's pointless to really talk about that. Those guys are going to be here forever. It's
constructive.
You think the MOBA scene is more constructive?
Yes.
All right. Kat, your thoughts? MOBA?
I guess they're pretty constructive.
All right. Who else? Naya? You?
I would say yes. And that's more than likely because of what I mentioned earlier. They kind of focus. Most of the time, they focus on that one product and put a lot of work into that one product, as opposed to, having to look in too many directions, making too many other things. They can't really, perfect that one item.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Um. Who do we have next on this list? Oblivion. Your point. Constructive or destructive? Oblivion.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Okay. We're gonna
Is
move.
it, I think it's FK.
Yeah. We're gonna move to
Wait,
Sahil.
I have push to talk activated, so that's why I had to unlock my phone.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Go on.
This is gonna sound stupid, but what's MOBA?
Oh God.
Never mind.
Sorry,
Oh, God.
Oblivion.
If you don't know, then you
No,
can't.
no. If you could just tell me, like, cause
No, but
like,
if you
I know
don't,
a lot of things
if you
is
don't,
like,
if you don't know, then you can't give a fair opinion. You're just you're just giving your answer because.
no, like
Wait, you know what MOBAs are, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. No, it's because like
Multiplayer.
I don't like really reference things based off of their what's it called, the letters. I usually
The
I know it
acronyms.
more by the full name. Yeah, the
you know
acronym.
them.
I know
Okay.
the full name.
You
I
know
don't
them by
ever
the
know it by the
genres.
acronym.
Oh, and you know them by the
Yeah,
games, not the genres. Okay, MOBAs are
yeah.
League of Legends and games like League of Legends, which is also Defenders of the Ancients 1 and 2, and then Heroes of
hmm
the Storm. So, what do you think? More constructive or destructive?
Constructive.
Constructive, okay. And Sahil, I know you gotta say something on this.
When it comes to how they treat their pro players, for the most part, it's constructive. When it comes to how they treat each other, it's dependent on the rank. In the lower ranks, it's destructive. In the higher ranks, it's constructive.
Oh, it sounds like society. Okay, so my take on the whole thing is, I think for the most part, the mobile community is very constructive. So wait a minute, what is this foolishness I'm seeing down here? Yo, this is just wrong, B. This is just wrong. Okay, so moving on to the first-person shooter community. Oh my goodness, where do we begin? Where do we begin on this, guys? Who wants to jump
My
in?
goodness.
Pla-
There's just so much to it. Oh boy.
Take the floor, Cat, please. You got it. You
I
got it.
mean, I don't really have much to say on it, like, honestly, because I don't like to involve myself with the community. But I know back then, like, my friends and I would, jump on, like, I don't know, Call of Duty or whatever, and go into, like, a voice chat and, like, I don't know, talk to people just for fun of it. Because there's so much that goes on there. There's a wide variety, a mix of people on there, especially, like, kids that like to insult each other and everything. It's like, there's just so much that, it's just not really focused on one place. It's, like, all over the place. It's not organized and everything. Like, anything can go down in those chats and stuff. It's, like, crazy.
Okay, so what are some of the positive stuffs that go on?
Good question.
Yo, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Wow.
What are we talking about?
We're streaming right now. We're in the middle of the examining different communities, and we're on the first person shooter community right now. We're trying to
Oh
find
God.
we're trying to
Oh,
find some of the
I
constructive.
know all about that.
Well, without cursing, because I told you we're on the stream.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the first person community,
Um,
first person shooter community, constructive and destructive.
It's extremely toxic. Extremely. Like, if anybody's ever played CS:GO, they would know it's because first-person shooters, they're really easily accessible. So I feel like you don't get the best of the people in the world on first-person shooters.
Really?
Yeah, like you'll hear some of the most like
I'm
fucking.
I'm reading from I'm reading
cussed already.
yeah, I'm reading
No, but like
Magus 2K. He says the most foul-mouthed,
Yeah.
racist, etc. community. Yoda says there are no positives.
no, there literally are none. There are none.
No,
They
I
do not
cannot.
exist.
I think I can
That's
say
why
one
it's funny.
thing. I think I
What?
can say one thing in terms of it being positive. This is just talking about a lot of the older FPS players. A lot of my friends who I met in high school who are still into games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, they don't play them like they don't always buy the newest Call of Duty. Like just because it's Call of Duty, they buy it depending on if it's good or not. I had two friends who didn't buy the newest Call of Duty because they literally said it's a buggy piece of shit, right? So I think that at least the older FPS players are maybe just a little bit more critical of the games that come out, and they can actually determine whether a game is worth buying for
Yeah,
them
but I
to
would
be
say
worth.
that's probably accustomed to more of them just straight up being in the gaming community for longer.
So, what's this, guys? Kara Jet says cancer pro players and horrible casual players. Like this,
Yeah, basically.
you guys are making this sound like this is literally video
Nah,
game
it's
hell.
literally the worst. Yeah, it's literally the worst
Yeah,
community.
you gotta respect the green wall.
It's easily the worst community in gaming.
I would disagree. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
In fact, me and Jagan will disagree horribly.
Why? What are you gonna say? The fighting game?
Oh, because the fighting community is the
fighting
worst?
game
I
community
believe it.
is hands
Dude, I don't know.
down.
Have you ever been on CS:GO? Like that shit.
My
is...
man, listen, let me explain something to you. Listen.
Oh, I can't stop cussing. It's in vain to me.
Yes, every community. Why am I shoveling this juice box? Every community has pros and negatives. Some communities have more pros than negatives, while others have more negatives than pro. So I'm not going to sit here and say the fighting game community doesn't have any pros, but they most certainly have some tragic negatives. I'm like, these are some tragic negatives, and these tragic negatives are all deal with. It's not even necessarily the people, but more so the leaders. It's like, because in the FPS communities, when I look at the FPS communities, as bad as the people are, that's like, look at sports, right? Like, look at football, and I'm talking about football, like world football, right?
I know, yeah.
The fans are the most degenerate in all of sports. They throw banana peels on black players. They literally jump off the rafters and go into the stadium and try to beat the crap out of the winning team that came in and win. All types of stuff. Like the Munich incident in the 1970s, where terrorists hijacked a bus of football players. It gets crazy. So yes, although the spectators or the audience is ridiculous, look at the FIFA organization as a whole worldwide, very constructive, and they get all teams representing all countries around the world to compete, get a chance to actually compete and play. And that has to stand for something when your sport, which is not even a part of the Olympics, is still global. So you have to really accept that. One second, we got 0 hits. He says, I will definitely be supporting hashtag.com. Great show. Thank you, 0 hits, for the donation. That was a great donation, because our sponsor is on right now, so that makes me smile. But going back to the situation with them, like the first person shooter community, yes, it is without a shadow of a doubt that they have the most toxic people online. I've seen guys that literally will they'll go online, right? They'll fight some guys, and let's say it's a black guy, and you can hear it in his voice. He's like, "Hold that, homie," and whatever. And the guy that he's fighting is from like Charlotte, North Carolina, and he loses. And he'll say some stuff like, "This is why I'm mad the South lost the war." Like, wow, you really said that?
Oh my god, it's so true.
But they go in and like, we call. This is what, like, I can't believe I lost to an N guy. This is why we should have kept you in slavery. All types of, like, it gets bad. But it's funny, though. It's actually funny. Like, if you can't laugh at the stuff that they be saying, then you really have no sense of humor.
You already lost. I mean, because, like, I don't know. It's just... I don't know. I don't see how I don't know as much, nearly, like, I don't know shit about the fighting game community.
Wow.
Because again,
Yoda
That's
said,
like the third one today.
Yoda said,
I can't help it.
Yoda says, FaZe Clan, need I say more? I don't know. I mean, I don't know about what's going on with the FaZe Clan, so I'm going to try to...
They basically, they used to be, like, top dog at Call of Duty, but then they dissembled. But Optic was really... the main, like, competitive Call of Duty team.
Isn't Optic still the best Call of Duty team?
Yeah, they probably will always be. But, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know anything about the fighting game community, but I do know
we'll get to that.
I would be baffled if the fighting game community actually...
We'll get to it. We'll get
close
to
the first person. Alright.
Came close? Nah, they're going to beat it, B. They're gonna feed it. I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to that in a second. But as bad as the first-person shooter community is in terms of their audience, saying some of the most horrendous yet entertaining things there ever is to be said in gaming, the administration, the people who create the foundation for the competition, from MLG and onward, for all the people who've been playing, from Quake to Unreal to Halo to Gears to Call of Duty to now Splatoon and what's this other game? Overwatch. They've all been massively supportive in the pro scene and create. And in fact, it's one of the main pro esports entities out there. So I would say me personally, I would say the FPS has a checkered reputation in terms of their community. But due to the administrations who have the power, they're more constructive. The constructive work that the administration does for the FPS community outweighs the destructive nature of its audience and competitors. Is that fair to say? What's your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I guess it's pretty fair considering the things that we have gotten out of that community. Like you said, I feel like it does outweigh a bit of what, it does outweigh it. That's basically the point I'm trying to make, but yeah.
All right, anyone else?
I just don't know enough about it. Just comment more.
What happened? I was muted. Was there any questions? If it's anything about the first person muted, I can answer it.
No, I just said I had stated that if anything, they had a checkered reputation in the FPS community because their administration does a lot of constructive things, and despite how as toxic as the spectators and the competitors are, it's outweighed by organizations like MLG that have done so much for first-person shooters that starts all from Quake straight down to Overwatch and now even Splatoon.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just stems from how easily accessible first-person shooters are, and how that has to be one of the most popular genres, if not the most popular genre of the past very, very long time.
Last 10
I feel
years.
like that easily brings in the worst of the worst.
It's definitely the shooters and the MOBAs that are dominating the market right now.
Yeah, okay. So, so let me get everyone's take on it before we move into it. More constructive or more destructive?
Fighting games or FPS?
FPS.
Currently destructive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the only reason I'm in the middle, and the only reason I say that is because it's still going strong.
Okay, Naya.
I'm gonna say I'm in the middle too, but my reason for that is because I think we've stepped into a new era with Overwatch. I think Overwatch is changing the way the first-person shooters, are played. With things like Call of Duty, it didn't matter if you were on a team. Everybody just kind of did their own thing. There wasn't really any teamwork. So you just scream whatever you want into the mic and do whatever you want. Run around and act crazy. You can't really do that in Overwatch unless you want to lose every match. So you gotta cooperate. And I think that's the direction things are gonna be going with due to the success of Overwatch.
Yeah, I can agree on that easily because Overwatch kind of I don't know how good this comparison is, but it's kind of like a MOBA and a first-person shooter combined.
Yeah. Sorta, yeah. Well, I will say this though: for all the good that Overwatch did, they did also help to normalize the practice of shoving loot crates or loot boxes into every AAA video game that comes out now. So I kind of hold a grudge against the game just for that. Not that I hate the game, but I do get annoyed by that.
Yeah,
it started with CS:GO.
I thought the way they did it was actually pretty decent, though.
It doesn't matter how they executed it. It's just that because it's such a largely played game, right? And they have loot boxes. It just made it a more widely accepted practice. Now, Shadow of Mordor and Player Battlegrounds Unknown both confirmed they're gonna have loot boxes before the games came out. Like
Yeah, they
Playgrounds
already
Unknown
do.
is not officially out yet. It's in early access, and they have loot boxes.
They actually
Even-
backtracked. They
even-
claimed that they weren't going to have it, and then they ended up putting it in.
Yeah, I know, because
Alright.
it's just a successful business model that it's basically legal gambling. That's
Yeah.
what it is, right?
But Evil Jagan says it started with Team Fortress 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, with the hats and stuff, you're right. It dates back all the way to Team Fortress 2.
Mhm.
CS:GO is the first one to have mass success
Yeah,
with it.
mass.
And Overwatch is what proved that you can do it in pretty much every game now.
Oh, hey, fun fact. Elder Scrolls actually did it first.
What?
With
Really?
Yeah, but I would say TF2.
No, no.
popularized it.
We're talking about competitively, the competitive way.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
on a competitive standpoint. So, because
But you know, the main problem is really the fact that it's only loot boxes. That's the problem. If you could buy coins, so that you could just spend real cash on coins to go buy the stuff you want, even if it costs more or something like that, I think that would be a little more acceptable. But the fact that it's just loot boxes, no matter what
Yeah.
you do, you're gambling that money. So
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, in CS:GO they have a
it
system like
attacks
that.
kids. It literally attacks
Oh
kids
yeah,
that
it
don't
does.
know any
It's
better,
basically
right?
just loopholing and
they,
feeding
they
gambling.
develop these terrible habits that will transition to when they get older.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
lawsuit coming. All right, so let me get the thoughts of so far what I'm looking at in terms of the chats. Great Mind says destructive. Awesome Law says he thinks it's constructive, and that's all we really gotten from those other people. So me, like I said, I'm actually on the fence. I'm like Black Pauldron. I'm on the fence. I'm in the middle. I think what's the only thing that's keeping it from being destructive is the administration. The administration literally is holding it together. All right.
Wait. I'm not just on the fence. I acknowledge that the FPS community is in this constant state of constructiveness and destructiveness, and it's perfect synergy.
I just think
synergy.
it's just destructive because there's just an overwhelming amount of first-person shooters coming out, and that's oversaturation is never a good thing.
All right. So
That's in terms of like game development though. That's not really competitiveness.
let's move on to the next community. Oh man, I have a special guest here who's going to talk about this. We have EMP Evil Jagan on deck, and we're going to talk about the fighting game community. I want to give him the floor specifically because it's bias if I speak my mind on it. Because I'm a part of the so-called negative, the destruction of the FGC. So, Jagan, you got the floor. You can take it away, homie. Take it away.
Well, I mean, there's so many avenues that I can go into. Like, it's just
Please go down all of them.
well, first, let me preface this that I'm not just some dude on the internet. I've been to many events. Been to the biggest event for FGC, which is Evo. Last Evo I went to was Evo 2015. I've been to SoCal regionals and various majors and gatherings. Okay, so this community is very strange because if you look at any type of FGC documentary, what gets pushed is that the FGC is this all-inclusive group that, you have transgenders, you have females, you have people from all races, all getting together just to throw down a Street Fighter or any other fighting game, really. But that's actually it is true to some extent because to be honest, all the tournaments that I've been to, I haven't had any issues. However, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of blackballing. There's lots of there's racism. It's just so Triforce guide me because there's just too much stuff.
Yeah,
I got the files.
That's the thing. It's about having the files. The only reason The only reason why a lot of people don't hear about the tragic, terrible stuff that goes on in the fighting game community, and this is the realest that I will ever keep it. There are those who are from the fighting game community that want to see it thrive. So they keep the files in the cabinet. I'm like, dude's got the keys. Straight Eric Snowden's out here. They can open the file. We're talking about Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, and this is over. But dudes is like, nah. They really want to let it rock because they think they really believe that the FGC can be something good. But okay, before, you know what they said, don't throw stones at other people's house. Let's talk about me.
Don't throw stones in glass houses.
Don't throw stones at glass houses, right? Yeah. So for me, right, this is my reputation in the FGC. I'm a pedophile. I'm a drug dealer. Right, hold on, time out. I'm a drug dealer. I keep my esports team running. Well, hold on, let me paraphrase that because someone can actually soundbite this and say, "Look, what Triforce says."
That doesn't sound so good.
And that's the type of stuff that the FGC does. Literally, you gotta watch what you say because someone will go out there and literally strip your stream, soundbite you, and put it out there. So I have been accused. I gotta say these in full straight sentences. I have been accused of being a pedophile. Being accused. I have to put that there because just in case it splice the words, right? I've been accused of being a drug dealer. I've been accused of being a pimp. I've been accused of being a charlatan, a con artist. You name it, and far worse. It's actually gotten even worse. But I have been. I'm proud enough to say, and I can pat myself on the back, that I am one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer, to push esports in fighting games. Because when I got into the fighting game community, if you said esports, they looked at you and like, what? And they started laughing at you. Get a job. This fighting games, you just play for the love. No one plays this for no esports. Like, are you stupid? Blah, blah, blah. And EMP was the first fighting game team in the fighting game community, which got ridiculed and crucified for 10 years until GameStop and Capcom came into play. And it was like, we really want to expand the scene competitively, so we're going to have the GameStop Nationals and blah, blah, blah. And once that came in, then here comes the esports teams from StarCraft. Here comes EG, here comes Liquid, here comes all these guys, and then all of a sudden now the FGC is like, we esports. And the people who put the cornerstones there, they're like, nah, don't deal with that guy. So that's the bad stuff that I had to put that out there first before I got into the type of stuff that these guys do. So let me tell you what the problem is with the FGC. You can't control the behaviors of people. People are individuals. They will always do that in the FGC. You just have individuals who do things as stupid as molestation, rape, or statutory rape. Let me correct that statement. It's statutory rape. It's consensual. It's just that these are with minors. These are tournament organizers. Like, this is the sad part. This isn't even the people who are playing the game.
What happened to Apex?
That's my entire point. Tournament organizers having sexual relations with underage girls, and I don't mean 18 years old. I mean 14. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, identity theft, credit card fraud. Yo, oh my goodness. What these guys do out here, it's crazy. Like,
dude stole over $7,000 from his own friend.
Like,
didn't pay the money back. Dude had to go to court. Like, let's just break this down. Yeah. If someone gives you over $7,000, right? You don't think he can afford a lawyer?
Wow. Oh, that's another thing. The level of intelligence isn't there. The level of intelligence really isn't there for some of these guys. Like, and it's just crazy because, okay, if this is the nature of the people in the scene, then it is up to, this is why I give the the first person community scene a pass, or at least put them on the fence, because let me not call them the administration. the authority, those who have the authority and that's in the authority, they go, listen, we can't tell you what to do in your privacy of your home, but when you're getting involved in the scene that we're putting together, you're going to conduct yourself in a professional, or at least what's the word for this, in a respectful manner, or no dice. They will just delete you. In the FGC, tournament organizers do cocaine in rooms with players who are doing lab sessions, gamble with, they're literally at Vegas gambling with people who are just turning 18, setting bad examples, drinking mass amounts of alcohol, drugs, all types of stuff.
But this doesn't really, those don't really sound like things that are so much like.
No. See, whoa. Before you get, see, like I said, this happens in every community amongst the players. You cannot tell people what to do, so people are going to do their degenerate stuff. I said tournament organizers were doing this with the players. The people who are supposed to be setting an example and leading are the ones doing this and influencing the people in their scene to follow suit. And you're like, what are you doing? It's not the play. If the players want to sniff coke and do all this other nonsense that they're doing, then they'll be held responsible to the authorities that by society. That's fine. I'm sure StarCraft. There was a situation in StarCraft where 2 of the StarCraft players was in a room with like 4 different 16-year-old Japanese girls, and they were all getting it in. And but the StarCraft scene, because they're progressive, tucked that file away. Make sure they kept the file on the low and that type of stuff, because they want to help get their community to grow. In the FGC, dudes put this on stream, and then they put it on Base God's YouTube page just in case you missed it live. So you can run it back. I'm like, this is the type of foolishness. Like, it's straight debauchery that goes on. That's why when people go, oh, this scene is bad. And in the FGC, you got guys that, like on Xbox Live, they'll send you hate mail. And they say some of the craziest things, just like the first-person shooter community. But the authority of the first-person shooter community will not tolerate that type of stuff. And I'm not saying the entire FGC authority allows this. I'm just saying that there have been tournament organizers who are guilty of such things, and it's bad that they're guilty of these things, unfortunately. And like Jagan mentioned earlier, racism plays a serious part in the FGC. A lot of people would think, well, actually racism plays a major part in esports as a whole, but the only thing that will get you out of racism in the FGC or esports as a whole is financial security. If you have the finances, then they look past the skin color. If you don't, you don't get a chance. That's just how it is. It's a reflection of society on a micro scale or whatever the case may be. So, it's just, that's just my take on it. Anyone else here has, well, Jagan, you could go again, but anyone else here has an experience in the FGC they want to put out on the table so that we can see the constructive and the destructive natures of this scene?
I do know that, like, there's kind of like a divide within the community about what games are fighting games and what games aren't.
That
specifically
too.
Smash.
That too.
That's never really healthy, but that's only one like game that I know of that is argued about. I don't know if there's other games.
ARMS.
Oh, ARMS, yeah. I don't know what the thing is on that, how the FGC feels about that, but
they don't think it's a fighting game.
Yeah, see, that's, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that's crazy.
Wow, so XYZ player got hit with the backlash of some racist comments, but I'm sure you know about that. Actually, I don't know about that. And we have to be careful. We won't mention any names here. Please do not mention anybody's names. I don't want to get hit with some type of foolish libel or slander or anything like that. We'll keep it to XYZ, unknowns, anonymous, and so forth. Yeah, Jagan, you want to chime in with any more?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of foolishness. So, getting back on the tournament organizers, like, I've never seen actual TOs partake in such foolishness, basically, in any other community that I've been a part of. So a couple years ago, there was a certain tournament organizer, and some of you guys have probably heard about this, but he went to another event, and keep in mind, this, yeah, try, you know, okay, so as the FGC, if I host a tournament, right, if I host a local tournament, I'm not trying to sabotage my fellow TO, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. If I host my tournament in March, I want people to go to my homeboys tournament in April. So we got to kind of work together in terms of scheduling things like that. And you don't want to sabotage it. Hey, don't go to that dude's tournament because he's going to lose money. Well, a very, very prominent TO went to another major tournament and was advertising his own tournament, right? He actually, which I don't understand how this worked, because that tournament, especially for Street Fighter, was a part of the Capcom Pro Tour. And in the rules, it states that if you're a tournament organizer, you cannot participate in the tournament. So I don't know how that was allowed, but that's just further proof of the, handshakes that goes on the back. We'll let you slide, but based on.
But tell them see. This is a conspiracy. People will consider this a conspiracy, but I know it's not a conspiracy. The tournament organizer who went there to degrade the other tournament organizers' event was it wasn't. The sad part is it wasn't even done based on his genuine opinion that the tournament was bad. He was sent there to do this by a larger brand and entity in the FGC. So you have snakes within the scenes gutting each other. Like this is truly, you know what the fighting game scene really is? It's literally a digital version of Gladiators back in the Roman days. You ever watched the HBO series Spartacus? That's literally what the FGC is like. It's literally like Spartacus. Houses fighting against other houses, barbarians fighting against other barbarians, and you know the debauchery that goes on in Spartacus. And literally, that's exactly what happens in the FGC. The females are a reflection of the females in Spartacus. The only difference is they're willing. The women in Spartacus were not. That was against their will because they were slaves. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think the problem with that is we got to remember what's fueling it. This is about fighting. And fighting is always going to be something that,
yes,
even positive fighting has a negative side to it. It's fighting. It's adrenaline driven. Logic kind of starts going out the window.
Aggressive natures.
Yeah. And, look, I'm going to plead the fifth when it comes to my strategy for fighting is I want to defeat you before we even start. So I'm going to say all kinds of things to you before we even start a fighting match in a fighting game. So, I'm guilty of that myself. I don't mean it. It doesn't need to go past that, but you never know how people are going to take things. But yeah, I mean, it's fighting. It's fueled by aggression and adrenaline.
Okay. So we started off with some serious bad stuff on the FGC. What are the redeeming qualities? There's definitely some good. So let's talk about the good.
And you know what's messed up, in my opinion, with toning back the debauchery a little bit. It's the attitudes of the players, dude. When we first met, I told you I was a fighting game enthusiast. Okay, and then you hit me with all the facts about the FGC, and I was mind blown. But I still love the pro wrestling style of attitudes that are in the FGC, circa '90s.
Yeah, no, I get it. The attitude.
It's extremely entertaining.
Yeah, it is very entertaining. But there's a level. Some people, they go beyond. They plus ultra it, and that's the problem. But all right, so let me jump out and say some positive things about the FGC. I don't want people to look at like, oh man, Triforce is just grinding down on the FGC.
Well, get all the positive stuff because I got some more heat. So.
Oh boy. All right, so the thing with the fighting game community is this: the fighting game community has literally the most potential in esports because of its spectator ability. people like guns, but everyone likes a good old fashioned fist fight. And the thing is, the platform for fighting games, because of because of the culture of the fighting game community, the communication is far more accessible, and learning about fighting games is far, the learning cap isn't high. Anyone can get it, and even the regular commoner who's getting into fighting games can learn to get the advanced stuff, unlike Dota, MOBA games and FPS games where you really have to. It's a real high level, a high ceiling cap to try to get to understand the game at the pro level. In fighting games, it's really not that difficult. You understand frames, you wait your turn when someone's doing a true block string. You have to recognize what isn't a true block string, what's plus, what's negatives. It's a numbers game, and everybody should be able to count, and they do, and people can understand it, and then people can recognize, people become attached to the characters. Fighting game characters are the most alluring element in esports. Unlike any other game, this is why League of Legends can get away with what they got. It isn't a fighting game, but they have characters that you love, and they Overwatch is able to do this for first-person shooters. These other genres are taking from fighting games, creating character personas and personalities that people can identify with and get in tune with, and they're putting them into their different genres. Even the trading card games, well, actually, trading card games always have it, but like when you look at Hearthstone, a prime example. Even the racing games now, like Rocket League, like the Rocket League's coming out for the Nintendo Switch, and there's a Mario and Luigi kart. Everyone is now trying to personify these different things, and people can get into these things easier. So when you look at ESPN and you see Street Fighter on it, or you look at Disney and you see Smash Brothers, you're like, this is the potential for fighting games is way out there. Like, if marketed properly, if Mayweathered, I say Mayweather because when it comes to fighting, and like whether it may be the octagon or boxing, no one does the promotions better than Mayweather. Mayweather had everyone watching an exhibition fight of a guy who's never boxed in his life since he was a child get smashed up by Mayweather in the boxing ring, and everyone loved it even though they knew it was a job. That's the potential fighting games had. So I can't sit here and say that there's no good to it, and that potential and foundation is largely in thanks to guys like Seth Killian, guys like Tom and Tony Cannon, scumbags like Joey Wizard, who I don't like, but he did put the work in, so you can't take that away from him. Guys like Big E, guys like Larry, Final Round, NEC, and all the legends that have been around in the fighting game community that have put in that work to bring that solid foundation that despite all of the negatives that we just said, and more coming from Jagan, the pillar of balance for the FGC is strong enough to withstand the foolishness. So I just wanted to put that out there, just so everybody can, get it's not all bad. It's not all bad. I just want to put that out there.
No, I mean, definitely. I mean, if any of you guys go to an actual tournament, the one thing that I like about going to FGC events is that generally the people are very laid back, very approachable to talk to. Like, yes. If you don't play, you could be a complete novice. You can never have picked up a controller. You can find someone to sit you down, explain the game, actually teach you how to play the game. Then, you want to run some more matches? They'll invite you to your hotel room. They'll get their friends in. Like, I went to Evo. We got invited to about, I want to say 12 different rooms. And I was in 4 of them. And I don't even play Smash. My friends do. And, we went out for some drinks, met some dude. And he's like, hey, come back to the hotel. We have a little tournament because they all got bounced at the tournament on Friday. This was Saturday. So, and we just pretty much went room hopping, and it's an overall fun environment. If you just look at the FGC from a Twitch chat, then you're not going to get the whole deal, because there is good, even though I'm about to say some more bad that's going to kind of contradict what I'm saying right now. Being at the actual event is a very pleasurable experience.
Actually, all of my tournament experiences back when I was playing Soul Calibur, they were all been positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even the tournaments I go to, like when you go to the fighting game community tournaments, they're godlike. It makes you feel like you're at a wrestling event or a boxing event
Yeah.
or some type of MMA event. That's what it literally
Mhm.
feels like. It's just virtual, but it's just the foolishness that goes on. And like Kotaku always covers the negative. Like they very rarely. It's almost as if they do the investigative journalism to find the negative of the FGC
No.
and put
It's
it out
not.
there.
It's no. I gotta correct that a bit. It's people. They know what's in the community because, like I said, we said earlier, everyone trying to one up each other and they're trying to cut each other's throat and backstab people. If something viral happens, whether someone gets punched, they get locked up, they
World
send
Star, and I'm not joking. Like they World
Yeah.
Star somebody in the FGC. Like the dude appeared on World Star. Really?
they'll send it to World. They'll upload it to World Star. They'll send it to Kotaku. They'll send it to
Hold on.
other.
Let's say a young lady from the Mortal Kombat community was uploaded to Pornhub.
Oh wow.
Like really?
And the Smash community.
Oh, where I got? Ah, man, damn.
And then see, and then former players, and see that's the thing. If your homeboy gets caught up, getting catfished and things of that nature, and the girl he's being catfished by ends up on the hub,
Or
you kind of
Reddit.
don't want.
They go to Reddit. Yes, they go to Reddit.
That's just another.
In fact, if anyone's interested in my so-called illustrious negative career, I'm the infamous Triforce. Type me up on Reddit. You guys are going to see all the type I'm talking about. Apparently, according to some people on Reddit, I've actually worked with Kim Jong-il and helped him.
How?
Hey man,
Screw logic.
It's on Reddit, B. Just gotta understand, it's on Reddit, B.
See, but that's how savage these people are. Because for those you don't know, there's a player who's passed away. His name is EMP Remix Nelson,
yes. A former member of. Well, he was a member until he passed in EMP.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was a very prominent member in EMP, right? And in the what year is it? Was it 2014 where he got immortalized in the Guinness Book?
Yes, he was.
It was 2014, right?
2014, yes.
2014. Okay, so if you guys look into the Gamers Edition of the Guinness Book of World Records, I'll probably post it here in a second. You'll see everyone who was a part of Empire Arcade at that time, and Nelson gets immortalized. Well, so someone posted this to Reddit, so I'm assuming it was a part of that community.
Mm-hmm.
What they did is they took that photo. And this isn't the first time they did something like this, but they took the photo and they basically photoshopped. I'm gonna sound ignorant here, but
ISIS.
what's the
It's ISIS.
Yeah, the Islamic writing. I don't know what it's called. It's escaping my head right now. But basically, the ISIS lettering and font and stuff, and they put it on there and put EMP ISIS.
Yeah. So.
And there was two, and also in the same year, there was two, or no, not the same year, the next year, I believe it was 2015, there was two players who, if you didn't know them, they could be mistaken for, Middle Eastern people, one of those being KDZ, if you didn't know him. And there was another former player of Empire Arcadia, and they were at a fighting game tournament. And when they went on stream, the stream chat was filled with EMP ISIS.
Yeah.
So savage.
Yeah, that's why I said, as bad as the FPS community is, like this guy Nelson was like known in the community. He's literally quoted as the most electrifying esports esports entertainer in the world, because he tried to use the whole rocks gimmick. He died due to a cardiac arrest and a seizure. He literally died in my hands. And I'm not even joking. He literally died in my hands. I tried to resuscitate him when he caught a seizure in the bathroom and tried to bring him back to life, but I couldn't. I wasn't able to do it. And when the medics got there, it was too late. They tried to bring him back, but he had gone into cardiac arrest and died a long time, like a while ago. So you would think, I wanted to help immortalize him because he was a big contributor to EMP. To help the team. He was an actual investor to the team and a player.
Yes.
He played and invested into the team. And unfortunately, He had passed away, and I was like, you know something, I gotta help get this guy immortalized. And I had a guy. Shout outs to um, oh my goodness, how am I gonna forget this guy's name? His name escapes me on the stream. I just don't want to butcher his name. Luciano. I'm sorry if I said your name incorrect. Shout out to him from in New York, but he did a picture of us, and he cropped out the background because we were standing behind a big projector screen, and he took the picture of Nelson and he put Nelson in the picture behind us as a whole team. And I asked Guinness when talking about our award as the most documented tournament winning team in the world in Guinness, could you use this picture so that he would be enshrined in Guinness book and he will be remembered for all time as a major contributor to our team. And the dudes literally took the picture, cropped him out, and put the ISIS flag in, and then put it on Reddit. And then the sad part is that the people think this is funny. They think this is funny. So yeah, but I think that's enough negative to talk about. So because this is getting really low. It's on the low end. So let's kind of bring it back to somewhere in the middle now.
The sad thing is that it gets worse. It's just oh god, yeah.
Well, we can't go too far into the abyss because then we probably won't be able to come back, and we'd have to kind of end the show on a very sad note. I want to kind of get do we have another community we have to do? Where we did a MOBA, we did FPS, we did fighting, and we kind of threw Smash in there at the same time. No, that's the end of it. We're pretty much at the end. No, we are not. We are not at the end yet. We're one more. I just remembered one more.
Wait, what about strategy games like StarCraft?
But StarCraft is really over. There are no more RTS games. Yeah. RTS has evolved into MOBA now, because that's what
That's true.
There's RTS elements in MOBA. But yeah, that's the fighting game community. So let me get everyone's votes. Constructive or destructive?
Lord.
I think I'm in the middle.
Answer, Lord.
But that's just because I don't know. Even after this talk, I don't know much about the internal workings or anything.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna put it at destructive but greatly improving. I'll have to put that aspect of it, greatly improving, because now that the industrial esports revolution is virtually complete, the suits, this is the good part about the FGC, the suits will not tolerate any of this foolishness. They're just gonna be like, clean it up or we delete you. And that's the tournament the tournament organizers are held to a level now that the suits are clean it up or we remove you. And tournament organizers are now in that situation where they just have to clean up their game. And for the most part, in the last 2 or 3 years, tournament organizers have done an excellent job. They went from a C minus to just pretty much a D to now a A. They've improved dramatically. So yeah, I give it that. Anyone else has any thoughts? Anyone wants to give it a grade before we move on to the last community?
I'm a fighting game enthusiast, and I give them a B+.
B+, okay.
Okay, so the way I'm gonna word this, as somebody who didn't know a lot about the fighting game community until very recently, right? I think the best way to describe this is kind of like the US, right? The citizens, which are the regular players of the game, are there's some good ones and there's some bad ones in the community, right? The tournament organizers are like the government. They're really corrupt, and it needs to get better in that regard. And I guess you can say, as you call the suits are the UN, I guess. They're trying to keep the US in check.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. The only difference is that this UN doesn't have a banky guy in there who's taking bribes and stuff like that. Well, actually, he didn't take the bribe. He actually stepped down from the bribe. So okay. With that said, let's move to the last community on our let's move to our last community that we want to touch up on and pretty much just close this out. The classic gaming community, aka the realm of the elder gods, aka twin Galaxies. Where do we start with this, man? Where do we start with this? So the founders of esports, these guys turned competitive gaming into a sport. Where can we start? Let's talk about the positives. Uh, I guess I'll open up. So the positives and the constructive element of Twin Galaxies is obviously based on the heroically historic. I have to say, actually, let me not use the word heroically. The legendary contributions from Walter Day, who pretty much like really put out all the real work to kind of bring it into esports into light back then. I'm like, obviously, the guys like World Cyber Games, CPL, MLG, LCS, and the rest of these guys all help evolve and revolutionize esports. But Walter really laid down the skeleton foundation for what esports now rests its shoulders on. Well, rests its head on. To be honest with you, but those contributions, when you look at the historical elements from the earliest video games teams like the U.S. national video game teams to the famous Life magazine photo shoot to the first qualifier it was called the Video Game Olympics, which was a qualifier that led to the That's Incredible Video Game World Championship. All of those things that they've done. Massive credit to Twin Galaxies, although it's suffered a lot of stuff because they didn't have the resources or the technology or the support to really bring it into the fruition that it is actually turning into now under the new ownership of Jace Hall, who is also the CEO of Team Echo Fox, for those who didn't know that. And Jace Hall is doing a good job overall. There are some things I kind of disagree with, but overall, the way he kind of like transformed the way Twin Galaxies is now, I have to admit it is better than it was in the last 10 years. Yes, it has some problems, some growing pains because it's transitioning, it's changing. So there's going to be some negative stuff in it, which we're going to get to in a second. But overall, for the most part, I give it like a B plus, honestly, and it's working towards an A. So that's the positive. Before we get into the negative, what you guys have anything to say regarding that? Because we've had our conversations here on Discord, so please chime in. Please chime in.
I think the retro gaming scene is once again starting to come into its own. You know what I mean? We're gonna see retro gaming in esports arenas. I believe this, and I think they're going in the right direction. They're really finding the avenue that they need to take in order to get to that point.
Oh, sorry. Nayo, your thoughts on classic gaming?
Yeah, it's a little tough for me to say. I mean, I feel like when it comes to classic gaming, like the way the gaming industry has changed so much, the way games are played now. This is one of the reasons why, like, as someone who played Street Fighter, all my life, really hardcore, I haven't even played 5 since it came out. I have not played it yet.
Oh, wow.
I consider it to be one of my best games. It's really because I feel like the industry has shifted to, especially when it comes to like fighting games, to this, they want to make games easier for everyone to play, so to speak. So like, combos in like a fighting game are kind of pre-programmed in now.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, you had to invent your own combos. You had to invent your own moves. And so I feel like for retro games to come back, I think it's going to be kind of tough because, the newer players and younger players now, I don't think, it's sad to say, I don't think they're capable of doing the kind of stuff that I'll say we used to have to do back in the day. I don't think anyone's going to stand around for 5 hours to play something like Pac-Man anymore. It's not going to happen. It's just not as interesting. You think about it, that's a great achievement, but people aren't going to have that drive nowadays. I don't see something like that coming back, like retro gaming, in the esports industry.
Believe it or not, it does to a certain degree. Depends on the game, though. But go. Sorry,
Well,
Jagan, you had jumped in. Sorry.
what I add on to that is what I add on to that is maybe the games themselves may not make like a resurgence, but one thing that is a positive is that the speed running community has grown over the last couple years. So that it kind of brings back the feeling of you're in the arcade, you're trying to beat the next dude's score. At least the speed running community kind of keeps that that fire back that I felt when I played arcade games. So I think people may not be playing games like Pac-Man anymore, but as long as games have scores or time to complete them in, such as speed running, I think that fire will always be there. So there's always going to be someone who's going to try to crack those scores. Just my opinion.
They definitely do, because like the Super Mario Brothers world record is like almost at an inhuman time right now. The whole dragster debacle with Todd Rogers and so forth now got people playing dragster, and that's a 1980s Atari game for speedrunning. So like it's still there. It just depends on what game. The internet, the video game capital of the world, Ottumwa, Iowa, is hosting a big 35th/36th anniversary event this November, and they have a bunch of arcade world championships that they're looking to host there, along with some console games and stuff like that. It's just that I agree with you in this regard. It will not get to the point of like a League of Legends. It just won't. It's more of a complementary aspect to esports. It's back in the NBA, back in the days in the NBA, they used to have a the All-Star games. They used to have, like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar versus Dr. J in a one-on-one, and I was a part of the All-Star games called the Battle of the Legends, and it was a one-on-one game using NBA rules and stuff like that. That's the type of role I can see classic gaming play. Or if you really want to kind of use an example, more like boxing. You have the two minor cards, and it's the warm-ups that leads to the main games and stuff like that. I can see classic gaming playing a role that, like, in that capacity for esports, where it's like, okay, we're gonna run a classic game or whatever, or not, for 4 or 5 hours and lead up to the main competition, and it's an undercard or a minor card or whatever you want to call it, and then you have the main game, which is what of the new stuff and whatnot. Be prepared to see something like that within the League of Legends community with the game Icons, which will be taking over for Melee shortly afterwards. Melee takes its exit stage left. But yeah. Anybody else before I go into something I want to regard as the negatives? Nobody?
Not really.
Jagan, you in the room? Not Jagan. I'm Blake. You in the room? What's up? Oh, wait a minute. Late night. What? Gall? He must be. Oh, he's streaming. Okay, he's streaming. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I guess we'll go straight into the negatives. I think the major negatives of the classic gaming scene is that Twin Galaxies, which is like the authority, that's although its authority is being questioned of late. One of the major problems I see is that it has a peer review system on both adjudicating records and disputing them, and I think that is a recipe for disaster. I really believe that you cannot give the players any power in terms of validating a record, whether it may be their own or their peers, because that's a recipe of, like, okay, mobbing. I don't like that guy. Do me a favor. I don't think his record should be official. Help me vote his record down. Stuff like that. Because that's exactly what's happening today. That's actually going on right now in the classic gaming community, specifically Twin Galaxies. And it's hurting the legacy. Bad enough you had refs that were not honest. They got caught, and they were dealt with and stuff like that. Some got caught, some didn't. A system like that with classic gaming is never going to be perfect. But then we just went. Huh? You had said something, Poldrin?
Me?
Oh, okay, sorry. But nothing, no scene is ever perfect. So every scene comes with their problems. So you have refs, and you have tournament organizers who do bad things. This happens everywhere. Like there's been refs that's been caught cheating in basketball games, baseball games, football games, and whatnot, and they get dealt with. So it's not an exclusive thing to Twin Galaxies or any esports platform out there. But Twin Galaxy is doing a real good job in cleaning that up, and the administration before them tried their best to clean it up to the best of their ability. The current Twin Galaxies right now has the cleanest of its era. It's the cleanest now, because of the adjudication system and the dispute system that they have. For the most part, is good. I just don't think it's a good idea to give the people who are also playing and going for records in there voting rights to someone, to allowing someone's record to go or be removed. What you guys thoughts on that?
Definitely a bad idea.
Why?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing back in ancient. It's either Greek or Roman, but I'm going to go Roman. It's ancient Roman society. They actually had a system where you could oust certain members of society, and they had to leave the community. And these could be scholars, dudes who were excelling in their field and all that. And the jealousy and the collusion could just lead to them getting ousted unjustly.
I agree.
I wouldn't leave that power. I wouldn't leave that power in the hands of the people who are competing with each other. No.
Anybody else has a take on it?
I mean, that just seems like common sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to do that. It's just pretty straightforward.
Well, to kind of play devil's advocate on the complaint, the Twin Galaxies has a commissioner, and the commissioner's job is to make sure that, despite the voting process of the peer review system, the commissioner's job is to make sure that they gather all the facts, because there could be a 100% vote against the game, but if there's empirical evidence that the record is good, then 100% vote will lose to the empirical evidence. So that's good. There's a check and balance. So I won't sit here and make it sound like the system's broken, because it's not. But it's just the fact that the players have that power that's very scary, to give your peers like power at that level. So also I want to say is that jealousy, because that power exists there, you have people who, based on my opinion, based on my experience, based on my informants and people that let me know what's going on, there are dudes marshaled, there are groups like a clique marshaled in trying to remove legacy records that are like the pillars of the classic gaming scene, because they don't want these particular players to be the iconic legends that they were. There was a record, a 26-year-old record that was defeated, and the record stood in 3rd place. And the minute the dispute system came into play, dudes then questioned whether or not the record was even valid at the time it was valid, and stood as the world record to hold the 26 years. But the record is in 3rd place now. So that record, it being first, doesn't even count no more. So it's like, why dispute a record that's no longer first place? It's no longer first place, so let it rock. And that's because the only other narrative is they want to be able to say that the record didn't stand for 26 years. That's the only reason why you would go after that record. And that's a Todd Rogers record, and that's a big legend in the scene. Another record, Billy Mitchell's Video Game Hall of Fame induction back-to-back Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. record. That record's been toppled 9 times over, yet it's in dispute because dudes don't believe he actually got the record that went along with his induction. And it's like, okay, first of all, it was adjudicated by a ref, and it was videotaped, and the videotapes went to the corresponding main ref to be validated and to get the record, right? That all was done. But because someone recorded their own version of switching the boards for his personal YouTube stuff, they made that and said there's some type of conspiracy to that, to then dispute the score, to have the score removed. Why? Why would you want to have that score removed? It's not even first place no more. I don't even think it's top 10 anymore. So what's the point? And that just goes to show you that like it's because it's Billy Mitchell. They even challenged my Black Tiger score. I dealt with that, so it got dealt with. And Leo Daniels. So it's like you're looking at this and a pattern is starting to form. Why go after these people? And this is what happens when you create a democracy in a competitive environment. That never works. There's no such thing as democracy in a competitive environment. It's not possible. What you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, that's a rough one. Having not thought about it previously, it's a little tough to just come up with it like that. But
I know, and it's a lot of that's a lot to intake at a in such a small segment.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of dumb. People are targeting scores that have already been beaten to, benefit themselves. And it's just like they only want to do this to obviously benefit themselves. And, there's like, I just think it causes a lot of unnecessary drama and it's just ridiculous. And I just think they should drop it. But they won't drop it because, they want to try to make a name for themselves. And the only way they can do that is to try to, be at the scores that have, already been beaten years ago. It's just, it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I don't think it should be.
Do you
think? But
Do you think, Kat, that if continuing it at this level, that this could be very destructive?
Yeah. Oh, I think it definitely will be because eventually over time, no matter how hard we try to defend it, someday like it's probably going to be forgotten, and someday people are just probably going to forget about it, which is kind of sad truth. But hopefully we never come to that, and we always your records stay and everything. But I just feel like in a time it could someday just happen to be forgotten, and then it's just kind of sad thinking about it. But like if people keep this up, it just someday or one way or another it will eventually it just be a really bad thing. I guess it's kind of sad and ridiculous.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else on their thoughts? Well, what do you think? So, more constructive or more destructive?
Okay, destructive from the outside of the community. Constructive from the inside.
All right, Kat.
I'm gonna have to agree with Pauldron on that one.
All right, Sahil, because I know you've been in this conversation before. Oh no, Sahil left. Oh crap, we lost him. Is he back? No, that's not him. Okay. And that's Hans. Oh, okay. Well, I will say this because I want to kind of close this out on this. We kind of ran over our time. Wanted to keep this within a 1 hour, 30-minute mark, but we're like 2 hours in. So this was a very deep, this is a very deep podcast. But I would think it's far more constructive than it is destructive, especially after speaking with the commissioner and understanding how their system totally works and it's fleshed out. I can understand where they stand on the whole situation. So. And what they're trying to do, and as long as they can maintain the system to literally have no influences and look at empirical evidence and empirical evidence only, and not being swayed by mob mentality or mass influence, then for the most part, I think it's good. And JSOL's doing a very good job in being the custodian to preserve the integrity and the legacy of Twin Galaxy's history and contributions to esports. So I definitely.
That's fair.
I definitely put it in the constructive zone. So, well,
those are good points.
That wraps up this segment. Before we go, I'm going to hand it over to Nyabusa again. He has a special contest for you guys that he wants to talk to you guys about regarding Hashtiv and how you guys can win some cool posters, and where he has some preset posters and images that he can make you, but he can also do custom ones providing you have the image and whatnot. But he's going to give you guys this the rules for this contest. So please listen up. Everybody else on Discord, please mute your mic so Nyabusa can have the floor. Nyabusa, you have the floor.
All right. Thanks. And first, thank you guys for the participation tonight. It was definitely great. Great topics and stuff like that. On Hashtiv, if anybody wants to find me, just search NIAH, Naya, and I'll come up. I'm the CTO. That's how you can get in touch with me directly. If you have any questions, you can easily find me on there. But I'm here to announce once again the poster giveaway that we're going to be doing, starting now until it's going to end next Thursday at midnight. And we're going to be giving away 10 posters that are on average approximately 24 by 36. These are big posters. They're nice. We haven't determined exactly what posters we're going to pick yet because that's going to be dependent on the actual winners. You guys are going to need to join Hashtiv if you're not on there yet. You're going to need to do a post with the hashtags Hashtiv and poster giveaway. And you're going to need to join the first poster giveaway group. This is how we'll be able to track who's actually participating in the contest and, you know, make sure you guys get your prizes. Once you do that, that's going to count as one entry. We're going to be picking these names at random. So if you earn more entries, that's good for you. And the way to earn more entries, posts with those hashtags. And also, if you guys donate to Empire Arcadia, every $1 you donate is going to be counted as an entry. So when we enter your name, if you donated $10, you did your first step 1, and then you donated $10, that's 11 times your name is going to be in there in order to get a chance to win those posters, one of those posters. And then we're also going to be giving away 2 premium oversized posters. One of the ones that I was looking at doing is going to be like 6 feet long. But again, it's going to depend on the winners. So in your post, I've even done an example post myself. So when you do your post, you know, hashtag your favorite anime or video game in there. So when we do pick you based on those posts, we'll be able to say, okay, this person likes, you know, Inuyasha. So we'll do an Inuyasha poster for you. You know, you like Splatoon. We'll do a Splatoon poster for you. Also wanted to just mention something earlier that slipped my mind. When it came to talking about how we're catering to the community, you know, between the last time I was on the stream and now, we've actually put a lot of work into getting the Twitch API set up for our website so that you can now stream Twitch on Hashtiv very easily. And that's just one of the things that I want to, you know, point out towards our commitment to catering to the users. And, you know, we're going to be making a lot more changes and improvements to Hashtiv based on what you guys say you want. And I think that's it from me for now. Oh, one last thing. I want to go ahead and kick off the donations, get myself a couple entries into the challenge. I'm just kidding. But I'm going to throw in some donations here for the Empire Arcadia. And just give me 1 second. I'm getting it logged in here because it logged me out. And boom, that should be coming across now. So if you guys did something like that, you'd have 10 entries added.
Thank you very much. So join Hashtiv for their poster giveaways, guys.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Nayabusa. We really appreciate your contributions and your help. You saw, did you read that link I gave you the other day?
Oh, yes,
so
definitely.
So do you mind if I mention that, like bring it up?
Oh, no. Feel free.
Okay, so
I mean, that's fine. It's all, you know, it's common knowledge. It's not a big deal.
All right. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's an article that went out where one of the executives from Facebook said they are going all in to esports. Like they said, the whole chips on the table. They're going all into esports. And well, it just goes to show you that social media is a really great platform for esports, and we want to be able to develop a serious social media aspect to Hashtag. It won't just be about video games and esports. A Hashtag will be far bigger than that. But it would be good to make sure that there's an alternative to Facebook as well in terms of competitive gaming on a social media platform. So for those who have
And
not joined hashtag.com, please join us and become a part of the EMP community for gaming. We're the earliest gaming community in Hashtag. You guys want to be a part of this history, man. Later on, you want to be a part of this so that 5 years from now you can be like, man, I knew that social media's network when it first started. So definitely.
yep. And I'm going to tell you guys this. Like they just announced that they're going all in with the esports and the streaming. Let me tell you the difference. Does anybody know what Mark Zuckerberg or any of the board members of Facebook's favorite games are? Nah.
Nope, I don't.
You know what my favorite game is? Street Fighter. I play Street Fighter. I play Overwatch. I'm a gamer. We're all gamers. Our head engineer is a hardcore gamer. So you best believe that what we do is going to be catered to gaming. We're going to want to perfect it to make sure that it works best for gamers.
Is it?
Not just best to we're not just doing it to bring in the money because we see a trend.
You're doing
We're
it
about
because
it.
you're about that. And I can attest for that in terms of your engineer as being a very hardcore gamer. He's better than Oblivion and Mario Kart and JP as well. So I just want to put that out there to kind of annoy Oblivion in the room. But
Hey,
oh boy, here we go.
hey, me and Zuru are on the same skill level in every single game we play. You can't say he's better than me when we're on par.
Yeah, I'm just playing. I just wanted to see if you were still in the room. Just wanted to see if you're still in the room.
Nah.
Yo, Zuru,
Nah,
Oblivion said you suck. Anyway, all right. So
Oh,
thank
wow.
you guys.
Okay.
Wait, Travis.
Yeah.
Don't close it out just yet. I just want everybody to know regarding Battle of the Memes. It's the same. It's pretty much the same premise. Sign up for Hashtag, join the EMP group, post your memes there, and we'll have those all in a database. $100 for the first prize. Top 10 is also getting prizes. Top 5 is also getting some of these posters, some of these really good-looking posters that Hashtag is providing. And I want to thank Hashtag for adding top 5 prizes to this competition.
Yep, definitely.
All right, guys. I think that's enough. Wow, we just cleared about 2.5 hours on this podcast. This was a really big podcast. Whoa. All right, guys. So we're gonna call it a day. Thank you guys for joining us. I'll see you guys in the community. We'll probably do an overtime in about 20 minutes from now, but it won't be something that we're gonna archive. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe. Please like our videos. Please share them with your social media platforms. Share these videos that we do, these podcasts that we're doing in Hashtag and any other of your social media platforms. And also, please, subscribe to our channel and like it and all that other stuff. We have these end cards right. Wait, it's right here. We got these end cards right. Oh, let me get my thumbs right. Yeah, we got these end cards right here, so you guys can check those out of the other videos and podcasts that we've been doing here on Empire. So we'll check you guys later. Peace.
Bye bye.